Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we are diving into a huge story that shook up international business and politics. The US Department of Justice and Securities and Exchange Commission have dropped a bombshell indictment against Indian billionaire Gautam Adani with a staggering 54 pages of allegation. In India, this is similar to what is called a charge sheet. But here is the thing, this isn't just a typical corporate scandal. What you are looking at could be something much bigger, involving a conspiracy just not within the Adani Group, but also involving a company called Azure Power Global, an American company, people in the US, and even some high-level bribes aimed at Indian government officials. So what's the goal? To sell solar power at inflated price through backdoor channels. This is a major violation under FCPA, Foreign Corrupt Practice Act, a US law that takes bribery seriously. The indictment reveals multiple serious charges: conspiracy, wire fraud, and even obstruction of justice. And here is where it gets even more intriguing. Could this be a part of a larger conspiracy involving the US government and deep state players and international power players? Stay with me as we break down the game-changing legal drama and uncover some facts. So why is the US so interested in this bribery case happening halfway across the world? Why would the US government care about people in India allegedly bribing each other? Here is the answer. The Adani Group, including Gautam Adani, has raised huge sums of money in the US. They have issued bonds, raised over $2 billion in loans from international banks and US asset managers, and sold $1 billion in securities to investors in the US. That is why US is involved. When you raise money in the US, you are legally required to declare that you haven't been involved in any corrupt practices. But here is the catch. The indictment seems to show that Adani top officials have been involved in bribery, which means they have been defrauding US investors. This indictment comes from a grand jury, which is a relatively weak position to start from. It is not about the bribes, it's about protecting US investors from fraud. In this case, US Department of Justice has filed 5-count charges: conspiracy to violate the FCPA knowingly and willingly, securities fraud conspiracy, wire fraud conspiracy, securities fraud as pertaining to 114A bond, that's one category of bond that they raised, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Point number 5, the charge is conspiracy to obstruct justice. This means the accused allegedly worked together, intentionally tamper with, destroy or hide important records and documents. The goal was to make these records unusable in an official investigation or legal process. That's what DOJ is saying. Let's dive into the people involved in this indictment, and then we will discuss what exactly is the allegation. Gautam Adani, he needs no introduction, world's 18th richest person and the billionaire at the heart of it all. Sagar Adani, Gautam Adani's nephew and an executive director at Adani Green Energy. This company is a key player in the whole case. Vineet Jain, he is the CEO and managing director of Adani Green Energy, another crucial figure named in the indictment. Ranjit Gupta, the former CEO of Azure Power Global, the American company that plays a big role in this scandal. Rupesh Agarwal, a former senior executive at Azure Power, also named in this case. Cyril Cabanas, not Indian but an Australian French citizen who worked as a director at Azure Power Global and previously for the Canadian pension fund CDPQ, which had the largest stake in the company. Saurav Agarwal, he worked closely with Cabanas at CDPQ, tying him into this mix. Deepak Malhotra, another name linked to CDPQ and a former non-executive director at Azure Power. Comes co-conspirator number 1. As per the indictment document, the person is unnamed, but we know they were the non-executive chairman of Azure Power from 2021 to 2023. We could guess who it is. Co-conspirator number 2, an Indian citizen who worked at Azure Power in a high-ranking executive role until 2022. Not much is known about this person either, but they are still a key player. Then comes foreign official 1. Here is where things get really interesting. This official served as a high-ranking government figure in Andhra Pradesh from 2019 to 2024. What makes this person stand out is that the indictment claims the group was conspiring to bribe state government officials with a huge chunk of money going to Andhra Pradesh, around 1750 crore out of total 2029 crores in bribes. That's 86% of the total bribe money. Now, why is this important? Because this official tenure aligns perfectly with the time frame of Jagan Mohan Reddy government in Andhra Pradesh, also known as the YSRCP government. Is this a coincidence? Maybe, but it is definitely something we cannot ignore. Stick with me as we break down the details of how this alleged conspiracy unfolded and what it could mean for everyone involved. What you have heard might only scratch the surface. The headline doesn't tell you the whole story. Back in 2019 and 2020, the Adani Group secured a huge contract to build solar power plants in India. But here is the twist. Adani wasn't alone in the deal. They partnered with an American company called Azure Power Global, a renewable energy firm listed in the New York Stock Exchange. Together, they won a $6 billion contract from SECI, Solar Energy Corporation of India, which is owned by Indian government. Adani promised to create 400,000 jobs and reduce carbon emission by 900 million tons. It seems like a major success story, but now the situation has turned controversial. US investigators are involved because of the American company's role, and the allegations are serious. According to the US prosecutors, the Adani Group and Azure Power allegedly paid $250 million in bribes to secure this contract. The accusations don't stop here. They are also facing fraud charges. The claim is that the Adani hid the fact they paid bribes while raising over $2 billion in debt through loans and bonds. As a result, investors and lenders were defrauded because they weren't told about the bribes. These are the charges that need to be proven in court. These contracts were said to generate billions in revenue over the next 20 years. These schemes allegedly spans across multiple states in India, including Jammu and Kashmir, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, and Andhra Pradesh, where powerful political figures were allegedly involved. The timeline is critical. Between July 2021 and February 2022, these deals were struck with power distribution companies in these states. All of this was coordinated with SECI, the government agency responsible for holding renewable energy projects in India. There are two terminology used here. PSA, Power Supply Agreement. This is an agreement between state utility companies and SECI, the government-owned company. It is not an agreement between the state utility and the manufacturers like Adani. And the second terminology is PPA. The US Department of Justice indictment claims that Adani Group and others orchestrated this conspiracy to bribe Indian officials, with one particular high-ranking official from Andhra Pradesh being at the center of it. The Department of Justice refers to this person as Foreign Official Number 1, and many speculate that it could be none other than Andhra Pradesh then Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy. Again, this is just a speculation based on the allegations of Department of Justice. Well, there is no official confirmation on this. It's worth noting that Adani met twice with Reddy, and that is mentioned in the indictment. The indictment goes further, claiming that the conspirators, including Gautam Adani, communicated about their efforts using encrypted messaging apps. This raises serious questions about the extent of the alleged bribery scheme. The DOJ has made these claims, but remember, these are allegations. Nothing has been proven yet. But regardless of the outcome, the damage has already been felt. The company had to cancel a major 600 million bond offerings, likely due to the negative publicity surrounding this case. This is not a formal charge sheet or a criminal case, and the legal process is still unfolding. The Adani Group has firmly denied all allegations made against it. In a public statement, they have insisted that everything they have done has been legal and assured both their investors and employees that they are seeking legal remedies for these situations. Now, here is what we know so far. These are still just allegations. Nothing has been proven yet, or no concrete evidences provided by the US authorities. No state government officials has been named as a recipient of any bribe, and no bribe money has been found, and no evidence has surfaced showing money linked to these bribe payments. There has been no trace of any money trail connecting any of these actions to bribery so far. But here is something really interesting to note. Back on December 8, 2022, Azure Global informed the SECI that it was pulling out of an agreement. But SECI did not accept that decision until March 18, 2024. And in between, all of these key executives from Azure Power left the company. What happened in that gap? We don't know yet. There's a very interesting part in this indictment that talks about how several people connected to Azure Power tried to show they were following US laws and being transparent. They even launched their own inquiry, but it looks like they used this process to hide their own involvement, all while pointing fingers at Adani Group executives trying to blame them instead. Now, in the grand jury inquiry, the indictment covers count 1 to 5, accusing the defendants of attempting to hide or destroy important record. It appears they tried to cover up their involvement by blaming Adani executives. This turned into a situation where everyone tried to save themselves. The indictment also points out how key figures like Saurabh Agarwal, Rupesh Agarwal selectively shared information revealing that Gautam Adani and Sagar Adani asked for bribes but kept their own roles in the bribery hidden. This tactics was meant to create the illusion that they were reporting misconduct and not committing it. Interestingly, while many individuals and companies are called out in the indictment, Azure Power Global, an American company, hasn't yet been charged. So what's next for Adani Group? Let's break it down. First, Adani stocks fell. The group lost 34 billion net worth on a single day. But what does this all mean for the business side of things? Adani had to cancel a 600 million bond offer. Why is this a big deal? It shows that funding is going to be a serious challenge for Adani Group. Group has said they will fight it in the court, but it is going to be tough to raise money now. Whether it is through stocks, bond or loans, it's harder to get access to money, especially from the US market, the largest financial market in the world. Just a week before the indictment were made public, Gautam Adani tweeted about $10 billion investment plan in the United States for renewable energy and infrastructure. He announced this while congratulating President-elect Donald Trump, and he also added that this is going to create 15,000 new jobs in the US. But now, with all this legal trouble, even traveling to US could become an issue for him. This big investment plan is now facing some serious roadblocks. On a global scale, there is going to be a lot of risk aversion among investors. Let me give you an example. CQG Partners, a US-based company, owns almost more than 20% stake in several Adani Group companies. After the news hit, their stock took a massive hit, down 23% in Australia. This is causing pressure from investors who are now worried about the risks of staying invested in Adani. So what does that mean? Adani has always had a big plan for growth, but a lot of that growth was funded through a mix of equity, ownership shares, and debt, borrowed money. Now things are looking shaky. After the Hindenburg report raised serious concern, things got even worse. If you remember that last year there was a report by US short seller Hindenburg, and that actually affected Adani shares. But the market were still willing to take risks until now. This isn't just some short seller report anymore. We are talking about real legal actions. The US SEC, one of the world's most powerful financial watchdog, is now involved. And what about the alleged charges that they are presenting? Yes, they look serious on paper without any evidences. As of now, it is just claims. We all know the US Attorney Office of the Eastern District of New York indicted Gautam Adani in a bribery case. But is there an international conspiracy going on? Notably, there have been no charges against Adani in India, nor any evidences presented to support claims of bribery. This raises questions about the motivations behind US intervention in this matter. Let's consider some key figures involved. You will see that real story lies elsewhere. Kenya cancelled a large deal with Adani, and there is a speculation regarding the connection between Kenyan President William Ruto and George Soros, particularly following Kenya's decision to cancel a major deal with Adani shortly after a US indictment against Adani.
On new information provided by investigative agencies and partner nations that they immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process.
Chuck Schumer, the US Senate Majority Leader since 2021, has been a prominent political figure in New York. Schumer's political career has been supported by significant funding from George Soros, a billionaire philanthropist known for his influence on various political agendas, especially towards Democratic Party. Allegations suggest that Soros has expressed opposition to both Adani and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In 2021, Schumer recommended Brian Pace for the position of US Attorney for the Eastern District of New York to Joe Biden. Pace is now overseeing these prosecution against Adani. This connection invites speculations about potential influences on the legal proceedings. Moreover, it is worth noting that Brian Pace's wife, Jacqueline Jones Pace, serves as Director of Development at the Equal Justice Initiative, an organization that has received substantial funding from Soros' philanthropic effort. This relationship further complicates the narrative surrounding this indictment. Additionally, Judge Nicholas Garaufis, who is handling this case, has been known for his critical views towards President-elect Donald Trump. He was appointed during Clinton administration, and his ruling during Trump's presidency have attracted attention and some controversy. There has been numerous judicial appointments made by President Biden administration, many of which were supported or recommended by Chuck Schumer. Some of these appointees are now involved in this case. As we analyze these connections, it becomes increasingly important to understand the broader ecosystem at play. This interplay between political funding, judicial appointment, and high-profile indictment raises questions about whether these actions are driven by legal principles or broader geopolitical strategies. While these allegations remain unproven and speculative, they highlight a complex wave of relationship that could suggest motivations beyond mere legal enforcement. As this case unfolds, it will be crucial to monitor how these dynamics influence US-India relations and the future of international business practices. Let's talk about how this indictment was done and whether it is trustworthy. First, it is important to understand that the indictment in this case was issued by a grand jury. In US, the grand juries operate primarily under the influence of a prosecutor. These legal professionals, like prosecutors, decide what evidence to present, which witness to call, and they guide jurors to legal matters. Grand jury indictments are often easier to secure than one might think. This is because jurors are typically non-legal professionals and prosecutors have exclusive access to present their case without any opposition from the defense. This can lead to an one-sided narrative, and that is the case as of now for Adani indictment. The standard of proof for grand juries is probable cause, which is significantly lower than the beyond a reasonable doubt standard required for a criminal conviction. In the Adani indictment, key details are missing, such as a money trail, communications between the accused and alleged officials, and the identities of those who were allegedly bribed. Under the FCPA, charges require evidence of bribing a foreign official to influence a decision with a connection to US jurisdiction. Yet, this indictment does not provide concrete evidence on these critical points. Rather, it relies on a detailed narrative of alleged conspiracy. So, where did the money go? That's a question that remains unanswered in this case so far. Will Adani be extradited? The way it works in this context is there are two separate cases happening right now. One with the Department of Justice and one with Securities and Exchange Commission. The US and India have an extradition treaty. This means that if someone commits a crime in one country, that can be sent to the other country to face charges as long as that crime is also considered illegal in both places. For extradition to happen, the crime must be something that's punishable in both countries. If it's a crime in one country, it has to be crime in another too. The principle is simple. Either the person should be extradited to face trial in the country where the crime was committed, or the country where they are currently located can prosecute them for the same crime. It's not enough to just ignore it. Extradition can only happen if the person faces a jail sentence of more than 1 year in the country requesting the extradition. Many Americans have concerns about the trustworthiness of their government institutions, including the judicial system. Many people in India have an outdated view of US government agencies, seeing them as perfectly unbiased and fair, but the reality is quite different. Trust in the US government has been declining, and the system is often seen as lacking transparency and being heavily influenced by politics. Recent surveys show that ordinary Americans are increasingly skeptical of their own government bodies. Gautam Adani, a prominent Indian businessman, has made significant contribution to India's and overseas infrastructure development, including ports, roads, and energy, and almost in every sector. These are crucial sectors for a growing economy. The current Department of Justice in US operates within a complex political landscape. Adani is often seen as center-right figure, while many of today's current administration US leaders are far left, which creates a political divide. This situation highlights how legal battles can sometimes be driven more by political agendas than by objective law, immensely influenced by broader political contexts both domestically and internationally. As trust in US government institutions continues to decline among the majority Americans, Indians should approach issues related to US with critical thinking and caution. What you have just witnessed is just the tip of the geopolitical iceberg. The full unfiltered expose on how global power dynamics are truly shifting is coming soon. This isn't just another video. This is a deep dive into the hidden mechanism of international strategic maneuvering that we see in case of Adani's case. I've invested in researching, cross-referencing, and connecting dots. If you are tired of surface-level narratives and want the raw, unvarnished truth, then this video is for you. When the next video drops, it will change how you see global politics. I hope you found this informational and reassuring. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.